Howdy. This is the Views from the Schott podcast. I'm your host, your one and only host, Tim Miller. And today, Thursday, August 17th, 2023, I wish you the happiest of National I Love My Feet days. Today's show, as always, is presented by Big Banter Sports. Big Banter Sports is the best place to get all news when it comes to Big Ten sports, basketball, football. They've got you covered. So make sure you're checking out Big Banter Sports on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere that you can find your sports media. You've got to make sure you're checking out Big Banter Sports. Big things coming, as I've said before. It's still true. So make sure you're checking out Big Banter Sports. Now, before we get into the show today, obviously we've got a special guest and an interview with Colin White, Ohio State's newest 2024 commitment. Before we get into that, today's sponsor of the show is College Basketball Analytics. That's cbbanalytics.com. If you want to be the smartest fan in the room when it comes to Ohio State or otherwise, you've got to check out College Basketball Analytics. They've got everything you need. Every metric out there, it's there for you. So check out cbbanalytics.com. They take a different and unique approach to all kinds of metrics, stats, advanced analytics when it comes to college basketball. So not only will you be the smartest fan in the room, the smartest Ohio State fan, but you'll probably be the smartest college basketball fan anywhere. So again, that's cbbanalytics.com. You can sign up for a free account and get access into some of their premium stats. And they've also got a paid subscription as well, which has plenty of goods in it. It's well worth the investment in the entertainment that you can get. Okay, let's talk Colin White. He is today's guest. The entire episode revolves around him. Very, very happy to have him join the show. A top 125, 150 recruit in the 2024 class. Just committed to Ohio State on Sunday, beating out Cincinnati, Butler, Northwestern, and TCU, among others. Now, in this conversation, we're going to talk about a lot of things surrounding his recruitment, including which program finished second. Why did Colin White not get an offer from Ohio State until this summer? Maybe some other odds and ends in terms of what his recruitment looked like, who affected his recruitment, what he was looking for, and some golden nuggets as well as far as who is he planning to recruit and try to get to join Ohio State as a part of this 2024 class. So excited to have you listen to this conversation with Colin White. It's going to be great. Make sure, by the way, if you haven't already, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so that you don't miss any other big conversations. There is a big one coming next week. I'm just going to let you know it's very big. Just be advised, okay? So make sure you're following, subscribing, liking, doing all the things. If you like the conversation, find us on Twitter at The Schott Pod. Make sure that you follow us there. Like the tweet so that more eyes can get on it and more people can hear about Colin White. All right. Colin White is our guest for today's show here on the Views from the Schott podcast. Colin, it's obviously a pleasure having you here today. We're going to get into a lot, but first of all, you just a couple days ago committed to Ohio State as the next pledgee of the 2024 class. Is your head spinning right now? Are you kind of feeling like it's sinking in? Like, where's your mind at right now as we record midweek in August, a couple days after you've committed?
It's still spinning a little bit. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to be grateful and excited for. But it's fun for sure, and I'm super excited to be a Buckeye.
Yeah, absolutely. So, take me through. Let's start with your commitment. Like Sunday at 4:00, Sunday at 4:15, you commit. I texted you. I'm sure plenty of other people texted you. Like, what do you do after a commitment to the Ohio State University as an Ohio kid? Are you just like, well, I guess I'll go eat some dinner, get some shots up, maybe, or what did that day look like for you?
It was a busy day actually for me. I had a brunch early in the morning, and we had a little get together here at 4 for an announcing type thing for the community at my house. So it was a busy day, and people stayed late that night. They were super happy that I'm going to be a Buckeye, but it was a crazy day. It was a fun day, but it was definitely a long one.
Yeah. So did you sleep better Saturday night knowing that the big day was tomorrow, or did you sleep better Sunday night just like exhausted and just like thankful that it's all done at this point?
Sunday night was a pretty good sleep. Saturday I was pretty worried about how everything was going to go on Sunday, but Sunday night was a pretty nice sleep knowing that I'm a Buckeye and that it was all over.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's good to hear Coach Holtman didn't okie doke you and say, yeah, we actually don't want you anymore now that you've planned your commitment. That's good. He's a man of his word.
Yeah, he
We'll talk
is.
about Coach Holtman. We'll talk about a lot of other things here as we get into it. But to start, you're an Ohio kid. You've grown up in, I guess you could say, rural northwest Ohio, if I get my directions right. How much did that play into your recruitment, specifically as it pertains to Ohio State and comparing to other schools, obviously in Indiana, Illinois, Texas, things like that?
It's Ohio State's close to home. It's right here, and it's the biggest level you're going to get even in the Big Ten. There's levels even in the Big Ten, so that it obviously played a part in me coming to Ohio State, being an Ohio kid. It's just more special to an Ohio kid to play at Ohio State. As a kid, you want to play. You want to play at Ohio State. You want to be a Buckeye. You love the football. You love the basketball. You just want to be a Buckeye. Dreams come true. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and obviously it's not like you got offered about a month or so ago. It's not like before then you had no contact with Ohio State or had no idea where you were going. But as you think about the most important factors in your recruitment, knowing that Ohio State, at least for several months, knowing Ohio State was maybe going to offer you, what were you thinking about in your head saying, man, I need this in a school or I need that in a school? Like, what were some of the most important factors that you needed to have in your next step?
I wanted to have a good coaching staff first and foremost, and I think Ohio State obviously brings out with Coach Holtman, Coach Diebler, Coach Nettie, and all the guys there. They're awesome. So, I really want to have a good relationship with the coaches and, a coaching staff that really believes in me and the way I play. And then also like the players, I'm close with some of the players on Ohio State's team, and they're great guys, and they just told me, hey, this is a brotherhood. We have our alumni camp every year where all these alumni come back and play against us. Like, this is a true brotherhood, and you got to really believe that. So those are two big things, like team chemistry, and the coaching staff is some of the main things I was looking for, and also winning. Ohio State last year, they had a rough year, a little bit of a down year, but the years prior, they're in the tournament every year in the round of 32, Sweet 16. It's they've been super successful. So that's a big selling point for me is a winning program.
Yeah, and that's something I wanted to touch on too, which I think is going to be a unique perspective from you, especially being an Ohio kid. You've said before you grew up rooting for Ohio State. You've already said it today. Ohio State experiences one of its worst season, probably its worst season that you could ever remember in your lifetime. I've got a few years on you, not that many, but this is even the worst season that I've seen in my entire lifetime that I can remember at Ohio State. So as you're going through that, how do you battle through thoughts of doubt and conflict in terms of, is Ohio State going to be the place for me? Is it going to continue to be a winning program? What was that last season like as you watch that, knowing you could be on the team in a couple years?
It was hard to watch. You always root for a team that's recruiting you because you want them to do well. And it's all you got to root for Ohio State. Like you say I've been biased and rooting for them my whole life. So it was very different to see them not succeed last year, and it was tough to watch. And I know they were a younger group last year, and they're still going to be a younger group this year. So it was hard to watch them they struggle with the growing pains. But I knew that the coaching staff just had to get some things right, and I know this year they're ready to roll this year with a little bit of a younger group again. But I know that I believe in that staff, and I believe that what they're going to do.
Did you talk to the coaching staff specifically about the downturn of last season? And if so, like how did they respond? What allowed you to believe in them?
They told me that the Big Ten's a tough conference, and And I wholeheartedly believe that it is. It's one of the toughest in America. That's why not a lot of teams that have great records but still go to the tournament. So I knew that they had a rough year, but they got it together at the end. Coach Holman and Coach Chiefler are like, hey, we figured things out at the end of the Big Ten tournament. We had a little run, and we won some games, and that was a big selling point. Like, hey, we can figure this thing out if things aren't going our way. And last year was a good example of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then take me through a month or so ago when you get the offer from Ohio State. Is this something that you were expecting? It was just a matter of time. Was it a shock to you? Like, what was the first knee jerk reaction when Ohio State gave you that offer?
No, it was kind of relief. You always want that. I always wanted that offer. Looking back, and when they did it early, I was like, oh, I don't know if it's ever going to happen. So you kind of move on. You're like, all right, I just got to live with the fact that they're probably not going to offer, and I'm gonna have to play somewhere else. And then they come back into the picture during the spring when I started playing well, and then we went to their team camp, and they're like, hey, you got to do this and this to improve, and I knew I could do that. And during July, it kind of became more prevalent. Coach Holtman, Coach Sheedler kept talking to me, and I knew it was kind of coming, but it was nice to hear from them. And it was a great time because they had a full explanation for me, and why it took so long, and what happened, why they took their time. So it was awesome. It was relief, but I was excited.
So, as a prospect yourself right now, it seems like unless you're in the top 30, 40, 50, you're going to have some kind of recruiting analyst who says, this guy's super underrated. This guy can jump out of the gym. He can shoot. He can do all these different things. He's super underrated. When in reality, he's like the 57th ranked prospect in the nation, a 4-star, and has 27 offers. Like, some people will say that, and it's like, okay, guy, whatever. For you,
Mhm.
however, there are some databases out there that have you fringe top 50. The highest you're rated, I think, is 247 Sports at 115. So you're just outside the top 100, which means you're getting attention, you're getting love, but not to that upper echelon. So, what was it that the coaching staff said in terms of why you hadn't got that offer yet? And I'm assuming that probably pushed you a little bit as well, to work even harder in the offseason and things like that when you're not playing high school ball.
For sure, it definitely pushed me. And they told me that there's two things that they really need to see and that is 3-point shooting and defense. And I said I agree. I haven't shown that yet. And I will. I know I can do that. It's just like I got to get in the right situation and the right kind of program. And Indian Elite kind of provided that for me, that ability to show that. And I was one of the most efficient guys on the 3SSB circuit this year, and that's for a good reason. I really knocked down the three a lot, and defended well, got easy buckets, and helped my team win. So I thought I really proved that to them, and they told me like, hey, you've earned this. You proved all these things to us, and we really believe in you. And that was like, it was like, wow, this staff really believes in me, and this is a staff I really want to play for.
Yeah, shooting is certainly one thing, finishing another thing, even rebounding. I mean, you've rebounded well this summer, at least according to what the numbers say. As a player, do you consider yourself a shooter first, a finisher first? Like, if you could put yourself into a quote unquote identity as a player, like, what do you most identify as when you're on the court?
People probably think that I identify most with like being athletic at the rim and dunking and everything. But I think I'm just a player. I can do it all. I can get to the rim. I can go dunk on someone. I can shoot a mid-range shot. I can get in the low post. I can get in the high post. I can shoot a three. It's just I'm a player on the offensive end. I can do a lot of things, and my versatility is something I really think I bring to the game. Most people, they do one thing, like you said, they're a specialist and at finishing, they're a specialist at shooting, but I'm just pretty good at a lot of things, and I just think I'm a player on that end.
So this question wasn't one that we discussed beforehand, so I hope it doesn't throw you off too much. But you talk about the type of player you are. I want to get your feedback here. You've watched Ohio State 10, 15 years. Any players from Ohio State history that you love or that you might try to emulate, or just players you grew up just really enjoying watching over the past several years as a fan?
I've really enjoyed the 1 year he played was Malachi Branham. I took a lot of things from his game and put it into my game. He was super successful in the mid range area, and that's one of my, like you said, a specialty. That's where I kind of thrive right now is in the mid range, and using a screen to make the right decision, which he was awesome at using little floaters in the lane. He could step back and knock down a three. I really tried to emulate my game off of his. And he was super successful at Ohio State. And I just think we play the same type of way, with that little bit of fire, an Ohio kid, and we're good at the same thing. So, I really like to watch him. I really love to watch him play when he was at Ohio State. So, he's a player that I really liked.
Yeah, for sure. And I can see the similarities as well. We'll talk about a little bit more about your play style and what Ohio State fans should expect of you here in a bit. Let's talk about the recruitment again. So you mentioned you're pretty close with a couple guys on the team. Austin Parks, you played AAU with last year. He's now at Ohio State. Talk to me about the relationship with Austin, what it was like talking things through with him, especially a guy who I would assume you can trust more than anyone else who's at Ohio State right now.
It was great to have him kind of as a resource, to ask questions, to throw things by. I asked him a lot of things like, "Hey, how's the culture there?" Because that was a big thing for me. Like, how's the culture? How the players? How the guys? You guys hang out? And he answered them fully honest. He's like, "Yeah, we do. We do all that. We hang out. We're a good group." And I'm like, that's a group I kind of want to be a part of. And him being there obviously helps it out. That's kind of like a friend. But I love that guy. I played against him in high school basketball. I played with him in AAU. So that's my guy, and he really helped me out and choosing Ohio State. Just answered all my questions, and I was able to run things by him, and I knew he was going to be completely honest.
Yeah, so I'm sure he's been a great resource. And then as a part of this recruitment process, you narrowed your list down to five. Four of those you visited. You mentioned before you might have to play somewhere else as you're waiting for that Ohio State offer. Were there any other programs that stuck out to you as if Ohio State wasn't going to offer, you're going to say, you know what, I might just end up go play here?
I really really liked everyone else in my top five. Butler and Northwestern and Cincy especially. They were great. I love what Cincy's doing with Coach Wes Miller down there. He's a great dude, and me and him are similar in a lot of ways. He's a great guy, and I feel like he's going to get that program moving again. And Butler with Coach Thad. He's a great recruiter. Obviously, he's got a lot of great guys at Ohio State and had a lot of great teams. But it's a great recruiter, and he was just super honest with me. And he said this is the place for you, and he really liked that Ohio State hadn't offered yet. He was always like, hey, they haven't offered, and I used to coach there. Blah blah blah. And their campus is beautiful. They were great guys. So and then Northwestern is they're coming off a great year. Being second in the Big Ten, making the tournament. You're coming off an ultimate high right now. And their campus is beautiful. Their coaching staff is great. Coach Collins is doing great things over there, and I think they're really on the rise. So, those three were really. I was like, I can see myself going to any of these three places.
So I don't mean to drag down Northwestern, but one question I have as a potential recruit, as if I would ever be able to identify with this, is I feel like if I'm visiting a school like Northwestern that has a capacity of maybe 4 or 5,000 in their arena, and then you're looking at the Schott, or you're looking at Xavier, you're looking at Cincinnati, whatever, like how is there anything for you? You mentioned the coaching staff, you wanted the team chemistry, things like that. But is it just simply the environment too, something you think about where you can envision the fans in the seats cheering for the team that you're suiting up for? Like, does that have much of an impact when it comes to like a school like Northwestern compared to Ohio State, or that not factor into anything?
I feel like it definitely did factor in. Northwestern, they don't have a big arena, and my high school arena is packed every night. We have a great crowd every night. So, that was one thing about Ohio State that I knew. Like the Schott's it's a big arena. There's a lot of seats to fill in the Schott. But I knew that, and I've been in the Schott in those great atmospheres, like against Duke, against the Michigan States, and win those big games. And I want to be in those big games. I want to play in those big games where the Schott has every seat filled, and you look up, you're like, wow, this place is huge and it's filled and it's loud. So I thought those were things that you couldn't really get at Northwestern. Those big games are going to feel like every game. You know what I mean? So I really took that into account. I know Northwestern a great arena, and not a lot of fans, not a lot of capacity, or not a lot of seats, not a lot of capacity, but it's bumping in there every night. And I just want to get Ohio State back to a place where it can be bumping a lot of nights.
Yeah, the atmosphere there is has room for improvement. You could definitely say. Obviously, last year was a down year, but you think back to the early 2010s where teams were good every single year. You're expecting a Final Four appearance, and student section was nuts. You're getting close to sellouts every game. So I'm sure you especially can identify with that and wanting to get the program back to being there. And we're talking like Ohio State is a program that hasn't won anything in several years. Like this is an NCAA tournament team every single year.
Mhm.
So it's not like the program is in the worst of shape at all. It's nothing that way. It just shows how spoiled we are as Ohio State fans. I want to give you the bait one more time here. So obviously Ohio State finishes first. You didn't visit TCU. It felt like TCU was a long shot, that maybe there was something going on there where you give them a pat on the butt and say, hey, you made my top 5, but I'm not going there. What did Northwestern or Cincinnati or Butler stand out as a clear second option for you? Or were they all just kind of like, if Ohio State doesn't offer, I guess I'll kind of draw a name out of a hat and see what feels best to me. But what were your thoughts there in terms of the players behind Ohio State?
I thought Northwestern was really a good option, and before any, like, even after Ohio State offered, Northwestern was going to be my first option before I went and visited Ohio State again. They were great on my visit, and they showed me a lot of things, showed me their culture, showed me their players and how they interact, and they were awesome. And like I said, they had a great year last year, and it's a great atmosphere there, a small campus, but a serious campus, and their academics is fantastic. So, it was a big draw. I love Northwestern, and they were probably number 2, but Butler and Cincy were right there with them. So, Northwestern was a tough decision for me between Northwestern and Ohio State.
And then when you're calling up Northwestern, if you did, or when you're talking to Coach Mata and saying, you know what, like I'm taking my talents to Columbus. What does that conversation look like if you did reach out beforehand?
It wasn't a fun conversation for sure when I called the coaches and told them that I wasn't going there. But I thought I handled my recruitment with a lot of respect, and I always respected them and their time. So they all said, if you need anything, like, reach out. We'll always be here. We're rooting for you. And it was a good breakup, as I say. It wasn't bad. They were they were fine with it. They understood. I'm an Ohio kid, and it's Ohio State. It's tough to turn down, and they were just so complimentary of me, and they said, hey, if you need anything, just reach out, and we'll always be rooting for you.
Yeah, tough to turn down when you're an Ohio kid getting offered from Ohio State. So take me through, was there a moment of clarity for you when everything clicked and you knew Ohio State was going to be the place for you? Or was it just simply you're just waiting for that Ohio State offer and you know you're going to jump on it? Where was the battle there? Where did you fall on that spectrum?
It wasn't like that when Ohio State offered. I was kind of like torn because like I said, they offered a little bit late, and I was like, I can't hold out a grudge. It's Ohio State, and they that's when they explained to me, like, hey, this is what we did, this is what we went through, like, to offer you. And they told me, hey, we're not giving. We may give 3 scholarships in this class. We definitely given 2. We don't know about 3. So no, it was tough. Like, I kind of looked back and I was like, if they're only going to give 2 and they're offering me, that's a big offer. It's a big scholarship for them. And if I said, if they have a chance to get someone else or get me, and they offered me and they want me to come there, I think they really believe in me. And so my coach, actually, after we went to Northwestern on a Saturday, Sunday, and then we came back and we went to Ohio State on that Monday. And the next Tuesday, we went into my coach's office, and we were sitting there for about 2 hours just talking about everything. And he said, give me cons on every single place. And I gave him cons, and we got to Ohio State. And I said, Coach, I don't really have any. He said, well, what are you waiting on then? I said, I don't know. He said, give me a con on Ohio State. I said, I don't think I have one. And he's like, all right, what are you waiting on? And then I kind of got up and we walked out and said goodbye. And I felt really good after that meeting, that I knew where I was going to go. And I waited a little bit to kind of weigh everything out. But, after that meeting, I was like, all right, I think I want to be an Ohio State basketball player.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then last question here about your recruitment, specifically when it comes to Butler. You said Northwestern was probably his second choice. Now, I don't even know if you were obviously alive, but not even sure if you were conscious to, root for Thad Matta and John Diebler, and members of that staff when they're at Ohio State. But was there any kind of nostalgic pull that made you think maybe Butler would be a cool place to play, or did that not have any kind of impact on you?
I think a little bit. You hear of Coach Mata, and he was a great coach at Ohio State. I still remember his some of his later teams on his way out. And he was a great coach. And Coach Diebler, I know, was obviously from Coach Lieber from Ohio State. I know John Diebler was a great player, and he's from my area. So it was really cool to go to Butler and meet those guys and having conversations with them and cool conversations. They've both been in the state of Ohio for a long time. So, it was really cool to meet with them. There was a little bit of nostalgic value, but it was cool to meet. And, I thought they offered a lot of good things like their campus. Their campus is beautiful and their players seemed really close. So, it was really cool to get an offer from Butler and go down there.
Yeah. So let's close off the conversation on the recruitment. You're an Ohio State Buckeye now. That's exciting. Let's talk about the future. Right now, you are in a class with John Mobley Jr., and that's it. You mentioned just today that Ohio State may add a third, they may not. Is there anyone that you're trying to recruit in this 2024 class or try to add to your own class to join with you as a freshman, or anyone you've spoken with, anything like that going on right now?
I know that Junie has a teammate of his that he'd love for him to join us, Aiden Sherrill. So I know he's pushing that pretty hard, and I said go for it. I don't know Aiden that well, so I told Junie, hey, we need a big, so let's get a big. So definitely we're looking at a big. If we can't add anyone, it would definitely be another big, and I think Junie's kind of headed that recruitment for sure.
So I would assume that means you're going to have to pull some weight as well. If Junie is recruiting Aiden Sherrill hard, which, not to spoil it for anyone, but at least as of right now, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a fit for Aiden Sherrill at Ohio State. However, there are some other players on the list of 2024 that it seems like Ohio State could be warm on. Are you going to pick up the slack and try to grab a couple players who you reach out to as well and say, hey man, Ohio State is the place? Or what do you think that'll look like for you?
I think I'll definitely try to. I know they're looking at a couple more bigs, especially in our class. So, definitely, I think I'll try to reach out to some of them here soon. Let the kind of dust settle a little bit from committing, and then hopefully get them on board here pretty soon.
Are there any names Ohio State fans should be more suspicious of that you might reach out to, or are you going to play that close to the chest?
I think Jaden Quaitnance maybe might be a little bit of a sleeper big that he just reclassified to the 2024 class. I know he wants to play soon, and I know he's an Ohio kid and he's in Cleveland right now, so that's definitely a sleeper pick that Ohio State fans should watch out for.
Okay, cool. We'll take that. So let's talk about 2025 targets as well. I know we're getting way, way deeper down the rabbit trail here, but when it comes to 2025 prospects, have you reached out to anyone in those classes and done the same thing, kind of pitch Ohio State why you're joining and kind of help the team try to continue to get their feet wet or get the foot in the door with any specific players there in 2025?
I know Jerry Easter, me and him are from kind of the same area, and now he's going to La Lumiere. So I know his dad tried to recruit me to come to La Lumiere with him. So he congratulated me about Ohio State, and I said, well, Jerry's up next. It's time for him to turn the page and come be an Ohio kid too. So I've been trying to get in Jerry's ear a little bit, but that's really the only 2025 prospect that I know personally, and I know that Jerry loves Ohio State and loves the staff. So hopefully we can make something happen with them.
I've got no intel on Jerry Easter, but I just can't see him suiting up in anything other than scarlet or gray coming up here in a couple
No,
years. So,
I can't
uh,
either.
and a lot of fans love him. So we'll put all the weight on your shoulders, Colin, to get him in the scarlet and gray and get him in Columbus. He's already in Ohio. Just got to take about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive down on I-71 there, and he'll be
There
there.
you go.
So we'll trust you to
He
make it
needs to be.
work.
He needs to
Um,
be.
let's talk about the upcoming season for you. Obviously, job's not done for you. I'm sure you're going to go try to pick up a state title here after falling short last year. Take me through, what does this season look like for you? What are you working on specifically in your game? And just senior season, like thoughts on that upcoming here in high school.
It's kind of crazy to be a senior finally. I've been in the high school realm for a while now, so it's kind of weird to be a senior. Just really working on my body right now. Trying to get a kind of a college type body ready. Working on strength, conditioning, all that. And we have a young group. Our team this year is young. The past couple of years we've been kind of senior led. So, me kind of taking young guys under my wing and kind of showing them the ropes. Showing them how to work hard, showing how to compete. And that's one of the things that I just want them all to compete. I just want to go out my senior year and compete the hardest we can. I have a lot of confidence that if we compete hard, we're going to get back to a place where we want to be. So, I'm excited for the season. I'm excited to get it rolling, and hopefully it comes sooner than it feels like it's coming.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about your body in particular. I, for one, think your frame, you have room to add muscle, but you don't necessarily look like a 16, 17-year-old kid in high school. Whereas you look at other players, even who Ohio State has brought in, you look at their frames and you're like, I don't think that they'll really be able to make an impact year one at Ohio State. You already, it seems like you kind of have a step ahead on that. Obviously, you've already mentioned you want to do some more work on it, but is that something that you think is to your advantage? Do you think that you're, obviously, I'm sure you wouldn't say you're ready day one right now, or maybe you would to go play against Michigan State or something. But in terms of your body makeup, like, do you feel like you've got a little bit of a step ahead of maybe other guys in your class right now?
Yeah, I feel like I do. And Ohio State actually kind of pointed that out to me. They're like, hey, you have a body that's ready to play and compete at the highest level. And there's still work to be done on that body, which is the most exciting part. So that was a big thing. Like, hey, you can be ready to play. You have a good body, a good frame, and a frame that's ready to add to put weight on. Sorry, and it's a good feeling. It's kind of nice against all these high school kids, but I know once you get to the next level, it's a lot tougher. So playing the 3SSB circuit this year, playing against that top level of competition really helped me, and kind of proved to me that, hey, I am ready to play with these guys, play with this type of competition. So it's a good feeling, but there's still work to be done.
Have you spoken with Quadrian Banks in terms of what things may look like for you this year, or especially your freshman year at Ohio State, in terms of strength, conditioning, nutrition, things like that you should be expecting?
I think that's actually what we are going on an official visit to Ohio State. I think that's kind of what we're going down there to talk about with him. And I'm excited to kind of get his take and what kind of things I should be doing.
Are you aware of the test that he will put you through, and all Ohio State players as well, in order to essentially prove your supremacy as a basketball player?
No, I'm not aware, but Austin hasn't told me flat out, but he said there's some sort of test.
Yeah. Okay. Well, cool. I'll let you figure that out for yourself. Those who really listen closely to the views from the shot, they know, and you'll know soon enough, Colin. I'm sure it's not that hard, right? As a guy who sits on his butt and sells software all day in his day job, when he's not rooting for Ohio State. But um, lots of exciting things coming up for you. Let's talk about your role at Ohio State. What has the coaching staff said in regards to where you'll fit in, what year one could look like, what year 3, 4 could look like, and how you'll slot in with the roster at Ohio State?
They see me sliding in as a versatile guy. I told you that earlier. I think I do a lot of things well, and so that versatility really allows me to do different things. I can kind of be a jack of all trades type of guy. I'm going to be able to defend people at the highest level, and I'm going to be able to do things on the offensive end. They kind of see me as a ball handling guard that's going to be able to push in transition, like handle his own, bring it up the court. But they really see me coming off screens, making plays, making the right decisions, making the right reads, kind of having the ball in my hands and really using it to our advantage, and then they see me just knocking down open shots and taking people into the low post, using my frame, like we said earlier, to kind of make teams pay for putting a smaller guy on me and then blowing past the guys that are a little bit bigger. So that's kind of where they see me fitting and the style.
I'm sure you're hyped to play with Austin. Anyone else on the roster right now where you're like, man, I'm itching to get on the floor with him?
Obviously Junie. I've been watching. Junie's been kind of a guy at the top of our class for a while now. So getting to play with him, I know he can do a lot of things from behind the arc that not a lot of people can do. So, and then obviously like Zed Key, I've been to Ohio State a couple of times and he's a great dude and I've talked to him plenty of times. So he's been really good and talking to him at Ohio State, blowing questions by him. And then Rodney Gale, I really loved how he came on late last year. He had a couple bumps early, but he came on late and really proved himself. So those are the type of guys that, I really look forward to playing with. But, the whole roster is really talented and young. So I feel like I'll get to be able to play with a lot of those guys.
What happens if Roddy dunks in you in practice?
Ew, that'd be bad. That's all right though. I'll take my lumps early, but I'll get them back sooner or later.
All right, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, that's the one thing where you're sitting there in practice, and I get it. You're one of the best athletes in the world, right? If you're at Ohio State, getting dunked on by a teammate just doesn't seem fun. And it seems like that there may be more criticism from your teammates by getting dunked on in practice than if you get dunked on by an opponent in an actual game, where you kind of have this thing that's kind of left to yourselves, where you get to get made fun of. And maybe you look it back on film. So just do your best not to get dunked on by Roddy or anyone else, and I'm sure it'll be fine. But
I'll try not to, but sometimes it happens, and that'd be a first in practice because usually I don't get dunked on a lot in high school.
yeah, true. Would you consider taking a charge instead? Are you going to take one for the team? Actually, better question. Let's say you take the charge, but you still get yammed on. Is that worth it? Is the baptism worth getting the charge and getting your team the ball back? Or, I mean, you're going to be on all over Reels and TikTok and everything on social media for the next week. So how do you weigh the pros and cons there?
I don't, that's a really tough decision. If it's late in the game, I'm taking the charge and we're getting the ball, especially if it's close. But if it's early in the game, I don't know. I might just have to look by and watch them dunk. But I'm definitely taking in there. I'll step in and take the charge, and I'll take one for the team there. But we get the ball. As long as we get the ball, as long as it's a charge, it's okay.
Got it. So in November of your freshman year, when you're taking on West Montana Central Community College Online Campus West, we know that you will not be taking a charge. If it's against Michigan State in late February, then you might step up and try to take it. Good to know. Cool.
For sure.
Colin, obviously it's been a pleasure having you today. Anything else that you would add about your recruitment, your commitment, about being at Ohio State? Anything that you wanted to cover that we missed that comes to mind right now?
I just appreciate Buckeye Nation for all the texts and tweets and support they sent me these past couple of days. And it's been fun. It's been awesome. I can't wait to get to Columbus and work in these next couple of years. So I really appreciate Buckeye Nation for everything, and I appreciate you, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely, Colin. We're happy to have you on the show here. I guess one last question before I let you go. You said you appreciate all the tweets, messages, the text, all that stuff. Was there any tweet or message that stuck out that was just wild or maybe even close to weird or just like, who the heck is this guy? Like anything like that where people are coming out of the woodworks to congratulate you?
I thought it was really cool that, Aaron Kraft and Kyle Young texted me. I got a text from Jared Sullinger actually a couple weeks ago. And so it's really cool to see them guys reach out and text. All the players. They sent me a text like congratulations and everything. So that was really cool. And then online, there's always people out there, always someone out there saying we're happy to have you. That I have no clue who it is, but I still appreciate them. I still appreciate everyone.
Buckeye Nation, one of the most passionate fan bases in all of sports, which can be good. It can also be a little weird at times, but you take what you can get from the fan base.
Exactly.
Colin, thanks for joining the show today. Future Ohio State Buckeye Colin White. It's been a pleasure having you here on the Views from the Schott podcast. We thank you for joining, and I'm sure we'll chat soon. So that's a conversation with Colin White. He shared a lot of fantastic insights into his recruitment into Ohio State, into what is to come for his future with Ohio State in general. So appreciate you watching / listening wherever you took in this podcast. By the way, as a player, I haven't even spoken about it yet, but the impact Colin White is going to have, I think it's going to be phenomenal. Some may say, some are already saying. The thing with Colin White is he's already got a really good build, like we spoke about in this episode. He's got a good build already to where he can grow into even a more muscular frame. He doesn't have the longest of arms, which doesn't necessarily hurt him because it means that he's going to be able to add some more muscle mass. Now, not only that, but he can really do pretty much everything as a slashing forward. He's got a shot. He can finish at the rim. He's got a good mid-range shot as well. He can play defense. He can rebound. This is a type of guy who can have a nice career at Ohio State for a couple years. He prides himself on hard work and putting the clamps on defense while being able to score on the offensive end. So this commitment, it's big. It's huge for Ohio State. Chris Holtmann and staff needed to see a few things before they could pull the trigger and offer him. Obviously, as we know, once he got that offer, it was really hard to pass up on. I think this is going to be a match made in heaven for Ohio State, and Buckeye fans should be really, really excited to get Colin White onto this roster heading into the 2024 season. So appreciate you listening, watching today, hearing Colin White's thoughts. I'll shut up before you shut me off. Go Bucks.